Hey there, and welcome to Cafe Dev for another hour of live streaming. Today's episode in the JulyOT collection is about introduction to IoT Central, or another way to say it is how can you create IoT solution without A, having to code anything, and B, having to design and to produce any hardware. I will have a co-host with me, and let's check out this video right now. Hello again and welcome on Cafe Dev. This month in July, I will introduce you the basic of how to create an IoT solution from scratch using different services you have on Azure. So I will be streaming live every Thursday at the same exact time. So if you want to join me online, please subscribe to my YouTube channel Cafe Dev or follow me on Twitter to get notified when I start streaming. If you're watching this live, do not hesitate to ask any question you may have in the chat window on YouTube or directly in the Twitter feed as an answer to my Twitter live video, and I will monitor several times during the show if I have any question there. So the second episode is around IoT Central. In last episode, we discovered with one of my colleagues, Benjamin Cabé, how to use an IoT gateway hosted in the cloud to help devices communicate with backend services and also manage a little bit of these devices. Today, we will use another Azure service, which is IoT Central, which is a software as a service that allows you to build IoT solutions. And you will be able to follow along my tutorial with me on going to aka.ms/JulyOT/learn. I will not be alone for this hour. I have a co-host with me. He's an IoT expert. He used to be an Azure MVP and now is a Microsoft Regional Director. He works with startups and big corporations around IoT projects at one of our Microsoft partners. And he's also based in Toulouse, like Benjamin and like myself several years ago when I grew up in Toulouse. Please welcome on the live show, Samir. Hi, Samir.
Hi. Hello.
How are you?
Fine, and you?
Great.
So
great to
very
have you on the
happy.
show. Yeah.
Yes, and very happy to participate in this stream with you and with your viewers in YouTube and Twitter. So
Great. So we will get started just in a minute. Let me share my screen. So if you want to follow along, just go again on aka.ms/JulyOT/learn, and you will have a Microsoft Learn collection of different modules. So you will find there the modules we saw in the last episode. If you didn't saw the last episode, it's available as a replay on YouTube on Cafe Dev. And today's we will work around the create your first Azure IoT Central app. So we'll do this together with Samir. Be sure you're logged in so all your progress is saved along the way. But just before jumping into the Azure IoT Central app, I wanted to take a few minutes to understand the big picture behind it. So basically, what are the target user of IoT Central apps, and what are the main components of any IoT solution? So, Samir, the first question is, what is the target of IoT Central? Who are the user of IoT Central?
So everyone could use IoT Central. So IoT Central, actually, it could be for everyone. So no developers. So we can use IoT Central without knowing or without having skills in in coding.
Yeah.
And also IoT Central can be useful for device makers. So the companies or the person that develop IoT devices. And IoT Central could be useful also for developers because we can, IoT Central is a SaaS platform, so a software as services, and developer, if want to go to the market or to develop quickly a solution, IoT solution, IoT Central could also be very useful.
Yeah, and we will see that basically if you have no knowledge at all about IoT, you can actually build an IoT solution with IoT Central. And definitely, if you're already a developer, you know how to create a website and a backend with it. The fact is Azure IoT Central will help you actually test your IDE without having to develop all this backend. And then as a second step, after maybe a proof of concept, you can reuse all the device code you have written already and kind of graduate to interesting tools like Azure IoT Hub. And that's something I wanted to add here just before the next section, is that actually what's inside. We didn't talk about this before, Samir, but actually IoT Central is based on a couple of different Azure services, like IoT Hub, like time series insights, and what else? Time series, DPS. We will talk a little bit about DPS, which is about device provisioning. So, oops, sorry for my writings. It's live, so my mistakes are live also. Provisioning. So actually, and a couple of other services. So actually, if you're a developer, you can actually rebuild IoT Central from scratch. But the good thing is you can start with IoT Central and then again graduate to more mature platform if you want. So one of the things also I wanted to talk about is basically what is an IoT solution. What are the components of an IoT solution? Because if you need to, if you want to build an IoT solution, you need to actually understand the big blocks around it. So can you tell me what things you see in every IoT solution?
Yes, you have 4 main components in an IoT solution. So the first part of an IoT solution is devices. Yeah. So it's more at the physical world. So and devices could be sensors or actuators, and devices help us to know about the physical world. And when we talk about devices, we talk about hardware platforms and embedded systems, and indeed electronics. So this is the first component of an IoT solution.
Yeah.
And after that, the second component is networks. So the networks is about connecting these devices to the cloud. So we have a lot of networks. So it could be Bluetooth, could be Zigbee if you are in a smart home or smart building, but could also more classic networks like Wi-Fi, or more specific IoT networks like LoRa or Sigfox. So in this part, you have many choice. And the main role of these networks is to send data to the cloud.
Yeah.
So the third component is the cloud. So the cloud platform, and the role of the cloud platform is to receive this data, and after that to store them and also analyze them, and provide a useful insights to end users. And science and indeed also an actions that could be useful for end users.
Yeah.
So the fourth component is application and services. So this more dedicated to end user to use IoT solution.
Sorry for my English viewers. It was unintended. It was apps, apps and services.
And could be dashboards, could be also a notification, and could be services to provide to users.
And obviously, these services will also need to connect to the cloud. They can be hosted on the cloud or hosted elsewhere, or being a mobile app, so hosted on a mobile phone, obviously. And they basically will have to connect to the cloud as well.
Yes.
One of the cool things around, so there's a lot of component there, but one of the cool things around Azure IoT Central is actually Azure IoT Central will handle all these segments, if I can say so, IoT Central. Because IoT Central is a SaaS solution, so it hosts all the data for you, and we will see that we can analyze some of the data as well. And we can even send the data out of Azure IoT Central. So actually you can use Azure IoT Central for the big things, and if you want to do some after non-real-time analysis, you can route the data out of IoT Central and use it elsewhere in your infrastructure. There is already an app for IoT Central, so you can actually use IoT Central with end user to show them some data, and even give them a possibility to change something on the IoT device, or to start an actuator like a motor or an LED or something like that. So actually IoT Central spans a huge part of any IoT solution. And IoT Central can also help you on the hardware side, and we will see it in a few minutes within the Azure IoT Central apps, because there is certified apps for IoT Central, not apps, sorry, certified hardware. That means that actually, if you don't know how to create an IoT object, you can simply buy it from the catalog and plug it directly onto Azure IoT Central. So again, Azure IoT Central is made for everybody.
And yes, and this is a very useful thing, because design on IoT product is very challenging. So this is a very great thing for IoT solution. So
now we saw a bit more about what is Azure IoT Central and how it can be useful for almost anybody that has an idea for developing an IoT solution. Let's go check out this Azure IoT Central app, Microsoft Learn module. So if you don't know, Microsoft Learn is a free platform. You can actually learn something by doing something. It's for 90% of the modules are free, and there is even a sandbox if you don't have any Azure account. For these specific modules, we don't have a sandbox. However, you will see that you can actually create a free trial app, IoT Central app, for free for 7 days. So you can definitely try out this module for free on Azure. One of the things we are looking for is for this module is, if you have no development background, you can follow along a huge part of the module, but at some point we will create a simulated device, and for this we will not really write some code, but copy paste some code. So you will need to have a basic understanding of code and how to run some command lines if you want to follow up to the end of the module. But again, Azure IoT Central can be used by anybody. This is just because we are simulating a real hardware device. Okay. Let's go. Let's start. And again, if you have any questions, I'm monitoring Twitter and YouTube, so feel free to ask any question there. So the scenario is basically we will put our shoes onto a company that operates a fleet of refrigerated trucks, and one of the things we want to say to monitor is the actual temperature of the truck, and if anything goes wrong, we want to be able to make decisions around this truck. So either go back to the base station where we can collect all the vegetables and frozen meat and whatever to save them, or either reroute the truck to another customer, a closer customer, to try not to lose all the goods we have in this truck. Okay. And we try to do it with Azure IoT Central. So as you can see at the end of the module, we should have a map following the truck in real time. We should have graph with the content temperature and with the state of the truck. It is en route or loading or unloading things, that kind of informations. So we'll go ahead and create an IoT Central app. So I will put Azure, my Microsoft Learn module there, and I've just opened a new window with Azure IoT Central on the right side of my screen. To get to this stage, I've just been to apps.azureiotcentral.com. You have the link here, and I've logged in with my Microsoft account. So if you just have a Microsoft account, like a former live account, you're good to go. And I will click on build to create my IoT application. And as you can see, we already have a bunch of pre-made application templates depending on several industries, but I will go ahead and create a custom application. So for creating the custom application, you will need actually to input a few information. First, you will need to choose an application name. So I will follow along the module and say refrigerated trucks Castanet. For people living near Toulouse, you will understand why I choose this. It actually creates a URL for me. You need to be aware that this URL is obviously a public information. So don't put here my super secret projects, because a lot of people can actually understand and discover this. Okay. So, I will put refrigerated Castanet. And the other things you need to know is obviously this URL need to be unique across all the Azure IoT Central customers. So if I type demo 1, I will probably get an error message saying, hey, it's already in use. You should pick up another name. Okay, the name is not really so important, because basically the only person that will get this link are people who are connecting to your app. So it's a way to remember how to access the application, but actually people just need to log in. And then if you go, I will go over on Azure IoT Central on my apps, you will see all the apps you have access to. So it's not so important to have a cryptic name or something like that. You can do whatever you want. Then the next things we need to choose is an application template. This thing is quite useful, because the fact is you can create your own application templates. So you can create an application and then extract an application template for it. So for example, if you have several big customers and you want each of these customers be on a separate Azure IoT Central app or tenant, you can actually create one application template and push it to several applications. So that's quite useful. And for now, I will just create a custom application to show you how to create things from scratch. And then we will need to pick up a pricing plan. So for this module, you can actually use the free tier, But you can, as you can see, you can pick up standard 1 and standard 2 depending on the number of messages. I will say a bit about the pricing later on to explain you the differences there and how to calculate the price of an IoT solution based on Azure IoT Central. Then I have to input a first name, last name, and it's odd, but you have to input a phone number. So believe me, the phone number is not used, and it should be removed anytime soon. So just input your phone number and click on create. It will take a few. Ooh. And it's absolutely right. I already have a free application, so I will choose standard one, and I will show you how to create one of them. So what I will do, I will switch to my secret mode because I need to input some secrets there. Similar demo test. While I'm doing this, Samir, can you give us a bit of information about how to think about the pricing of an IoT solution?
Yes, I think you talk about custom how to build a custom solution with the IoT Hub last episode with Benjamin, and
yeah.
It was more the PaaS custom development with PaaS services of Azure, and this approach is great. So you can develop your IoT solution using PaaS services like IoT Hub, Azure Time Series, Cosmos DB, and so on. And this approach is more to develop a solution based on your needs. So you have to do some specific development in addition of using PaaS services. So the pricing will depend of your consumption of Azure services. So you have to plan your consumption of each Azure PaaS services.
Yeah.
So IoT Central, it's different approach. So it's more SaaS approach. So you will use a platform, and so this platform is ready to use. So with industry focus, like you mentioned, Christopher. So you have less technological choice to do because it's ready to use, less code. And I think you will see the code part that we have to do. It's it's less than when you have to do a custom solution. And concerning the pricing, you will have a different tier, and the pricing will depend the number of devices that you have, and also the number of messages that we will send to the platform by month. And the thing that is very interesting in this approach is that the pricing is predictable. So you know in advance the price that we will have in IoT Central. And this thing is very important regarding the business part.
Yeah, because obviously if you're about to deploy, I don't know, 1,000 of different devices, you need to think about the cost, because when you deploy an IoT device, most of the time you deploy it for several years, like 5-10 years. So definitely you need to understand the cost on the long term, on the long run, and IoT Central make them more predictable, definitely. So let's switch back to my screen. So I created my my app, and I've went ahead and go on the unit 2 of the Microsoft Learn module, where we will create a device template. So I want to switch back a little bit, and I will again show my whiteboard, because there is some concepts there that need to be explained if you want to understand what is happening in your IoT solution there. So let me paste this. Ooh, it's small. Yep. So actually, when you open a new IoT Central app, when you create a new IoT Central app, you have a bunch of different things there. This is the admin part. We will go in there in a few minutes. There is where you manage your devices. It's self-explainable. So basically, Azure IoT Central app acts as a device database. Database. So actually, all the information about the devices will be stored into Azure IoT Central. Then you will have devices group. It's a way to group devices mostly by type of hardware. So the idea is to basically within an Azure IoT Central app, you can have different type of sensor or different type of devices, and you can actually group them by type. Then rules is to basically take action. Take action based on different things. So for example, if I have a temperature sensor that go above, I don't know, 30 degrees Celsius, then I need to send an email to someone, or I need to do something within my information system. And you can actually kind of program these rules with a simple wizard. Analytics is an interesting part, is basically giving you access to your data with a simple interface to query all the sensors and all the data. And jobs is also kind of part of the management admin side of things. If you want to update something on a huge number of devices, you can do it with the jobs feature. We will talk about the jobs feature in the next episode, how to automate device management at scale. Then administration is simple things. Data export, I will show you an example later on. And devices templates, it's what we will see right now. So let's jump into devices templates. So as I said before, you can actually create. So let me try to create a new device. So this is the kind of the device database of Azure IoT Central, and I can go ahead and create a new device. But as you can see, if I do this, I will have actually a device that does nothing, because I've told Azure IoT app to create a device, and that's it. What I should have done is to select a template type. Okay, so this template type will inform Azure IoT Central about the device capabilities. So the kind of data the device is able to send and the kind of commands the device is able to receive and execute. And all this information about the capabilities of a device is stored in what we call a device template. So the first thing you need to do when you create a new Azure IoT Central application is to actually create a new device template. So we will follow along the module, and I will click on a new device, and then I have a few choices. I can create an IoT device, which could be, as I said, a sensor device. I can create an Azure IoT template, which is more, as we explained in the first video, it's more for Dockerized workloads you can push onto the edge. And one of the good things, as I say, is that actually Azure IoT Central has a wide range of certified devices that connect directly to Azure IoT Central. And actually you can see there a part of this catalog. So you have like the Azure Sphere sample device. It's like development board is not like a real object, but for example, the flick button is actually a clickable button, and you have ton of other devices. This is an occupancy sensor, so basically you put it in a room, and you can have information about is this room occupied or not. And you also have cameras, like embedded cameras. You can have on a truck. You can have like dozens and dozens of different devices, a humidity sensor, temperature sensor, gateways, etc., etc. I will not go over all these devices, but because there is a lot. But what I said about the hardware is actually, as you can see, there is a ton of very wide different devices that you can just plug and play into Azure IoT Central.
Just one word about IoT plug and play approach. The idea for some of these devices that we saw are plug and play, so we don't have to write code to add these devices to IoT Central. And this approach is proposed by IoT Central, and it's very interesting when we are not a developer.
Yeah, definitely. So as I said before, in this module, we will actually create our own device, even if it's just a simulator. So we'll go ahead and create a custom device from scratch, selecting the IoT device there. And then we will need to type a name. And its refrigerated truck is not a gateway device. So basically a gateway device is a kind of special device that is placed between your devices and the cloud. And I will go click next, review, and create this new device template. And then you will be able to actually craft, explain to Azure IoT Central what are the capabilities of these devices. So we will go ahead and first add a new capability in a terms of temperature sensor. So I will go ahead and click add capability, and I will just copy paste the value from the Microsoft Learn modules. So it's a little bit small, but be sure you type the exact thing and specifically on the name field, because this name is the actual name that is sent by the IoT device. So if you make a mistake there, and when we will code the simulator, actually Azure IoT Central will not interpret, will not parse correctly the message sent by the device. So this is just a display name. About the name, you need to double check that you've input the correct thing. Then there is different capability types, and there is 3 of them. Telemetry is basically a signal sent from the device to Azure IoT Central. Command is the way around, so it's basically an order and a task that is sent from Azure IoT Central, from the cloud to the device. And the property is, as I said, something about this device, but not in a form of telemetry, is more in the form of state, or maybe a parameter, something like that. So I will go ahead and select telemetry. Then we will select a semantic type. We can choose none if it's, I don't know, a value that is very specific to your business. But if you're using something quite common, like pressure, temperature, velocity, or location, you can select directly the semantic type there in this combo box. And then Azure IoT Central will adapt the graph and the rendering and the parsing of this data around all the Azure IoT Central app. And then we will need to give a bit more information about the schema of this data, including the type. So here we will send double type, and the unit is actually Celsius degree. And so you double check this and you click save. And if you follow along this Microsoft Learn module, we will actually add a bunch of different things, like a state telemetry to understand the state of the application. There, as you can see, it's a state of the truck temperature. Is it empty, full, or melting, if there is an issue. And then we will add, I think it's a cooling system state. Yeah, the cooling system state, on, off, or failed. We will also add the state of the truck. As I said before, is the truck ready, en route, daring, returning, loading, dumping, etc. Some events, and obviously location, so we can have a map displaying all the trucks, and some other properties. So as you can see, there is a bunch of work to actually do. So I've already done this before on another application. Let's check out this other application I've made earlier with all these properties. So as you can see in this new app, you can see all the properties I've created, and also all the commands, which is, I think, the next one of the next step. I will go back to this command thing later on. One of the two things you need to do before actually using this device template to create an actual device is to publish the device template. So how do you do this? Basically, I will go again on my first app. You ensure that you saved all the capabilities, and then you can go over and click on publish. You have a little summary of what you've just changed, and you click on publish, and then anybody using your app can actually use this template to create new devices or to assign a device to this specific template. So let's go to the next module, which is about creating a rich dashboard under your device. So one of the cool things you can do around this is actually pre-create dashboard for any specific type of device. So obviously any user can go on the dashboard and actually modify the dashboard and add tiles about kind of informations. But the fact is, if you have a temperature sensor and you deploy 1,000 of them, basically each time you want to have an information about this specific type of device, you will probably want to see the exact same type of informations. And you can embed this into what we call the views within the device template. So I've already done this before, but again, I want to just start to show you how to create them from scratch. So I will click on view on my device template and click on visualizing the device. I can type a view name. So for example, summary. And then I can add some titles there. So I have a very limited amount of choice there because remember, here I am on my current app where I just declared contents temperature. So I will go ahead and click there if I can. And yeah, I can. And add title, and then I have the title which is displayed there. I can actually personalize the type of how I would display this information, the size, and other informations around it. But let's switch over to my already created application where I've created a much more interesting view. Let's try to do this and do this, and as you can see, I have a much more interesting display because I have the location, all the different states, and even the content temperature graph over a few less than 1 hour, that kind of thing. So you can actually create this and save it for the entire device type, and when you will go over, like, let's do it. I can go over on my all devices thing, so my device database, and you can see that within this application I created actually 2 devices, and when I click on one of them, I find my location and truck view, which is something I've created, which is the views I've created. So about location and truck view, it's actually something I've created. That's the view you've defined in the device template. And as you can see, my truck is moving all across America right now, and very fast. But it's a simulated device, so that's totally okay. But that's kind of things you can do. And again, I've actually, let's pause for a moment. We will see how I've actually created my simulator, but in less than half an hour, I've created an app that allows me to create new IoT devices, to register them to a central database, and to display informations. And I can even go on analytics and see the, I don't know, temperature by truck ID and analyze this data for, let's say, the last 30 minutes. So I can do very interesting things in a very short amount of time. To create the view, as I said, I've just added some tiles, and again, I've published them. So each time you modify something there, you need to actually save and publish. Don't forget to publish, okay? Then the next thing we need to do to actually advance in our project is to create a device. So as you've seen there, I've already created two devices, but I will actually create a third one to show you how to do it. So I will click there on create a new device. On the template type, now I've created my device template and published it. I can click on refrigerated truck to add this, and then I can choose device name and a device ID. So you can leave the default name. You can also input your own name, and I think that's something that is asked there. Yes, device name, refrigerated truck. Oh, sorry, device name refrigerated truck 1. And almost the same thing here, refrigerated truck 1, create there, and here I have my device. I don't know if you pay attention, but here you have a simulate this device flag. I've chosen no, so I can actually connect this device to my simulator, but the same way I will use it on a real device. If you click on simulate this device, Azure IoT Central will actually try to do things to simulate your device, but it may not be perfect depending on what kind of things you want to do on your device. So my device is created, but its register is not connected. Obviously, because I haven't done anything on the device side. So one of the things I need to do now is to get the connection keys. So actually, we can go there. Oh, sorry, there on this icon, and we will actually get the device connection information. So to actually connect a real device to Azure IoT Central, you will need 3 pieces of information: the ID scope, the device ID, and for this example, because we use a shared access signature, you will need a primary key. But actually, Samir, in a real world deployment, is there any other way to actually do it instead of creating by hand all the devices and to copy paste a string to the device itself?
So when we have a million of devices, to do it manually, it's not a good idea. It could take a lot of times. So yes, in real, in the field, when we have a million of devices or a lot of devices, in general, it's useful to use DPS to do this action automatically, to register all the devices. And also it's interesting to use DPS for the security part, because depending of the device, using certificates is better for a security, to be compliant for your security requirement depending of industry, because some industries have high security requirements.
Yeah, and as you can see, indeed, you can use the shared access signature, but you can also use certificates to actually enroll a device onto Azure IoT Central. So now that I've done this, if you follow along, you can definitely check your knowledge at this step. I will go ahead because I want to show you how to actually develop a simulator and write a bit of code for any developers that watch us right now or in replay. So what we will do now is we will create a console, a CLI application that actually mimics what a real device will do. Okay, if you follow along, you can choose either Node.js or C# as a language, and either Visual Studio Code or Visual Studio as a development environment. If you're not a developer in any of these languages, you can actually do it on your own, but you will have to actually read the C# or the Node.js code and port it onto your own language. We provide for Azure IoT Central and Azure IoT Hub a wide range of SDKs in different languages. Obviously, we have a C language SDK for doing this. So I encourage you to check out all these SDKs if you're not a Node.js or a C# developer. I will go ahead and use C#. So I've already prepared all my environments with all the code, etc. So everything is already done on my side, but I wanted to go over and explain to you a bit how to write actually all this code and set up your development environment. So obviously you will need to have a C# .NET environment on any platform you want, Windows, Linux, Mac. Then you will have to create a free Azure Maps account. So Azure Maps is one of our IoT services that basically give you everything you need to do maps applications. So if you want to display a map, you can do it with Azure Maps. If you want to do computations around maps, like calculating a route between 2 points, you can do with Azure Maps as well. And actually, that's why we used Azure Maps in this sample code, because what we want to do in the commands area, we have created 2 commands during the tutorial. One of them is to recall the truck to the base station, as I said, and the other one is to send the truck to a specific customer ID. So when you do this, basically we have a list of customer embedded in the device, and if I said go to customer tree and click on run, the device itself, we compute the route from the actual location to the new customer location, and we'll send this data along the way to Azure IoT Central. So that's why we are using Azure Maps in this sample. And there is just an HTML page to ensure that you have an Azure key properly set up when you've created your Azure Map account. So let's go on for the next step, which is actually create a programming project for a real device. So I've choose C#. I've already opened Visual Studio Code, create a new .NET console applications, restore the packages, and I've added a bunch of different packages. So Azure Maps REST toolkit, as I said, is to communicate with Azure Maps and especially calculate the route between 2 customers. Then I have Microsoft Azure Devices Client, which is a package we saw in the last video. So if you want to have a bit more information about what this package does and how an IoT device can send information to the cloud, go check out the first video of JulyOT on Cafe Dev. And then there we've added 2 packages for provisioning the device, because we will use a service Samir and I already spoke about, DPS, a device provisioning service that allows to basically provision a huge number of IoT devices quite easily. So we will see how to do it. As you will see, it's very, very simple on the client side, and just a standard library to parse and generate JSON files from .NET objects. And then if you follow along, you can just copy paste all the code from the sample. It could be quite boring to do all of this. You can also just go there because we've made all this code in a GitHub repository. And actually, what I done, I've cloned this repo, and here I am in my Visual Studio Code applications. So we'll go over in the next couple of minutes just to give you an overview of what the code looks like on the device side. Okay. So I have a bunch of static informations, but one of the interesting things are there As I told you, you will need a scope ID, a device ID, and a primary key. So all these three informations are actually the ones I've copy paste from this screen. Okay, and then the Azure Maps, I've got it from the Azure portal itself. And then we will jump to the main method of this application and try to understand what's done when I launch the simulator. So actually, I connect to the Azure Map services, which is, as I said, used to calculate routes. And then you have these lines of code are actually the lines used to register the device to Azure IoT Central and to get communication link between your device and Azure IoT Central by using behind the scenes Azure IoT Hub. So what is done there is you call these methods register device async, and you will actually if the result of this provisioning action is correct, you will actually get a bunch of information in the device registration result class, including all the information about the authentication, like the device ID and the primary key, and also the assigned hub. So behind the scenes, when you're using Azure IoT Central, you're actually using Azure IoT Hub. So if you follow last week video, you know how to use it. And actually, this device client here is the IoT Hub device client. So there is no, from the device side, is very easy to use. And as I said before, you can graduate an Azure IoT Central app to an Azure IoT app very easily from the device side, because from this point onwards, everything is just plain old IoT app and not really related to Azure IoT Central. So that's kind of cool because it's quite easy to do a lot of different things while using IoT app and IoT Central, whatever you want. So then what we do, we set device property. So it's a device twin we talked about in last week video, and set some properties on the device twin. And then we do something interesting we didn't saw last week, which is register method handlers. So basically, this is for cloud to device type of links, type of messages. So actually, if I go back to my device, you see you have commands tab, and if I click there on go to customer and input a value and click on run, actually, so yes, there is an error because this is a fake device, it's not a real device. But actually, when I click on this, I will actually call this method. So that's, but as you can see, that's very easy to implement on the device side, cloud to devices operations, because basically you just have to register a method, and then on this method, you can do whatever you want. And in this method, if you're curious about, it's where we will actually, depending on the state, but we can actually, what is it? We can change the customer location, and then call the getRoute method. And the getRoute method, which is just there, is actually the method that we call the Azure Map services to get the route between the actual position and the new customer position. So you can see, if you read along a few of these lines, that it's quite easy to do this kind of computation with Azure Maps. So and I have another method, which is return to base, to actually compute the route from the actual location to the base station, and to move to the base station. One of the other things we do when we have set up all these things is to send telemetry, and this is where I have a sample, a bit of code that actually generate fake data and create a telemetry point and send this message as a JSON payload to Azure IoT Hub. That's the things we saw on the video last week. So as you can see, it's quite easy actually to create code for an IoT device. And I have my simulator running for about an hour now. And one of the things I wanted to show you, if the demo odds are with me, is to go to my non-simulated device. I think it's that one. And basically, you can see my terminal data there. And if I click on recall, I should see on the left side the recall action in a minute. Or not. So let's try this command. Oh, yes, it's working. So yeah, I was already at the base. So as I was at the base, there is no no way to recall a truck that was already at the base. But as you can see there, I have a new event, a new customer, go to customer 4. And just before the simulator found the route with a bit more than 100 of points. And actually now the location is changing. If you see between the messages, the location is slightly changing because the truck is actually going to the new location. And if I go to the truck view, I should see the truck started to move. And if we wait a few minutes, we will see the truck moving again to other locations. So it's a very short demo, but at the end, as you can see, I can have an application that shows data about the current and past situation of an IoT device and send command back to this device. And the code within this device is quite, as you can see, is quite easy to implement. So all these things were done in this long line of modules. And test your IoT device is actually what I've done. So I've just run the program and show you all this data. And I've shown you also how to test that all the commands were properly executed by the device with a new customer and calculating the route. So we already done this. We will need to wait a few seconds for actually seeing the truck because the location is not updated in real time. It's took a few minutes. And the next step I will it's almost the last step before the recap is actually how to create multiple devices and how to run them. So I will not do this during this live. I really encourage you to follow this module on your own and to create multiple devices to see how it's easy when you've created one device to actually use hundreds of different devices. One of the different things before wrapping up I wanted to do is to show you the data export capabilities. So actually, as I said, when you use Azure IoT Central, you can actually export your data in real time to other applications by using blob storage, which is file storage in Azure, or even tabs or subsbus. So I've done this for the Azure blob storage, so everything is output to my blob storage. And just to give you an overview, I've downloaded one of the files. It is this one, and there you can actually see the message from the device. We have a bunch of information about the truck, the last update time, and all the property of the device. So basically everything you set up there, the device template, this other file is, I can format the JSON, format document. It will be easier to read. Yeah. So it's a bit long file, but actually this is the device template file. So even the device templates, if you set up the export storage, everything is sent to Azure Blob Storage. So it's a kind of a backup if you want, but you can do, yeah. Go ahead.
Just this feature is very interesting because when you export your data, you can also develop without coding application and services by using, for example, Power BI or Power Apps. And I know I work with data scientists and love to have this kind of JSON files, because after that they can use them in Power BI or do some cross analysis with other type of data. So this is a very great features to develop also services.
You're absolutely right. I didn't talk about the integration between Azure IoT apps and all the Power apps, but it's definitely something you can do to do more things without having to code. So that's it for today. I hope you liked it. Samir, do you have any few other words to say before we end our show?
Yes, I think it's a very good time to be an IoT developer. I think also because we had a COVID-19 crisis, I think the future world will be contactless, and the future world will be smart and green, and with a lot of IoT solutions. So I think it's a very good time to be an IoT developer. And like we saw, it's very simple to set up an IoT solution. So I encourage you to test IoT Central.
Yeah, definitely. Thanks, Samir, for being with me during this show. I hope you liked it. I haven't seen any questions there, but again, if you're watching this on replay and you have any question about what I show you or about Azure IoT Central, please send me a message either on Twitter at Simano or as a comment on the YouTube video, and I will be happy to answer you, even if you didn't watch the action live, but watch it on replay. And do not forget to follow me on Twitter or to subscribe to the Cafe Dev channel, because next week on Thursday, same time, 5 p.m. Paris time, 8 a.m. Seattle time, I will stream again live, and that time we will learn about automating device management at scale with Azure IoT Hub, because it's a thing to create an Azure IoT project with one device. It's another type of thing to do it with millions of devices. Thanks for watching, and see you soon on Cafe Dev. Bye, Samir.
Bye bye.